This is just a short video to explain that we've had to change the date of the Zoar Pentecost and Zoar First Fruits because we are pretty sure that the fire signs of 1 Kings 18 occur on the Zoar Pentecost. But there's a good reason to change it. We had calculated it from Sivan 29 First Fruits, Zoar First Fruits, which was 1335 days of Daniel 12:12 after Tishri 14 when Satan, 2008, when Satan's 6,000 year lease from 3993 Tishri 14 in the Nisan calendar expired. But you wouldn't really be in expectation, as Daniel 12:12 says, that happy or blessed, or it says actually the happinesses and the blessednesses of the one keeping in expectation who arrives at the end of the 1335 days. So you wouldn't really expect much after Satan's lease ends. You'd expect it when Jesus takes over, which is on the first fruits day after Satan's lease ends, because all these things work. There's the Passover, the law ends, and then Jesus appoints his church on first fruits day, which was Nisan 16, Passover Nisan 14. And likewise leaving Egypt, the Passover was Nisan 14, but they didn't get out of Egypt, the first guys, until Nisan 16, out of the land of Egypt. Then there was the Sinai desert, which was actually controlled by Egypt, Greater Egypt, but not Egypt itself. So we wouldn't really expect anything until Tishri 17, which was first fruits after Nisan 14. First fruits is the first day of the week after an interposing Sabbath, which can be weekly or can be festival. An interposing Sabbath in the Festival of Cakes, which is 7 days. For the first New Covenant, first fruits, it's always a weekly Sabbath, as it was under law of Moses. So the weekly Sabbath was Tishri 17. So that's when Jesus was appointed, so that's when we would start expecting something. And then you wait 1335 days after that, you get to Tammuz 2. And then first fruits after that, which is a Sabbath. First fruits after that will be Tammuz 3. So that's the new first fruits, leading to Zoar's Pentecost, Zoar First Fruits. Zoar Pentecost would then be Ab 22, back in 2012, when Zoar began, 1335 days after 2008, Tishri 17. Incidentally, 2012 Sivan, the entire month, was a Jubilee month, of the first Jubilee month of the Kingdom, where the Jubilee is counted in months, 50 months. It's the 50th month of the Kingdom, starting from 2008 ER1. Jesus got married to the first President's first New Covenant saints, 2008 Nisan 22, and so the first, and that was the beginning of the Kingdom of God. But Satan got the first 6 months of the Kingdom, just as Jesus got the first 6 months of the world, from 3993 Nisan 14 to 3993 Tishri 14 Nisan calendar, or 3992 Tishri 14 Tishri calendar. So, and that mess up is why we didn't really get anything in what we thought, well, which was the 7th secular year of the canon of the Kingdom, because it wasn't the 7th secular year of Jesus' reign over the Kingdom, because Satan actually got the first 14 days of 2008 Tishri 1 to Tishri 14. Therefore that wasn't the first although it was the first secular year of the Kingdom, which began Nisan 22 2008, it was not the first secular year entirely of Jesus' reign. And that's why I think everything takes a year longer than we thought. Anyway, back to the Zoar Pentecost. So 2012 Sivan was a Jubilee. You cannot be appointed, which is a commitment, during the Jubilee, which is a release. The reason that first fruits is the first day after the Sabbath is to point out that it is not. It's a commitment. It cannot be. You don't make a commitment on a Sabbath. You get out of a commitment on a Sabbath. So there couldn't have been a Zoar First Fruits, in fact, any day in 2012 Sivan, not a First Fruits which involved an appointment. There could be a First Fruits involving getting a non-Adamic Isaic body, which we did, we believe, on Sivan 16. That's the first possible First Fruits after Sivan 14, which was a kind of Zoar handover, Passover. Not a Passover by an angel, but a Passover of authority. and Sivan 15 was a Venusian transit when Venus passed over the Sun, and Sivan 16 was 1335 days after Tishri 1. Not sure whether that's significant, but it's also the end of the temple ratio prophecy, which is when we get out of Adam and get a non-Adamic body, those in the true church, because it's a temple ratio prophecy, so those in the temple get the body, but everybody else gets one not long after. So yes, Zoar first fruits. It cannot be in a Jubilee. And normally therefore it couldn't be in Sivan 2012, which is the 50th month of the Kingdom of God, counting from 2008 EL1. And normally in those circumstances you'd have it the same time but the next month. But that's only when there's a late festival, and there's only a late festival when the festival is mandatory, so that you get an opportunity to go a second time if you couldn't make the mandatory first one. But Zoar first fruits is not mandatory. So I guess you have it at the first possible opportunity after the Jubilee month, which would be the first day of the week after a Sabbath, because first fruits can be can mean several things. It can be appointment day for a church, it can be a call into a baptism, or it can be the first guys to get the blessing of a baptism. It can be any one of those three things. And on 2012, Sivan 16, the first people got the blessing of an Isaiah body, which is a half-aging, non-Adamic body. They were the people who'd come out of Adam at the end of the temple ratio prophecy, the people in the temple, the people in the true church, which we understand was the Lord's witnesses. At that time, there were only a couple of dozen of us. Nobody's interested in the true church, they want to join the false church. There's a point. So that was the first fruits then. But the first fruits of Tammuz 3, 2012, was the call into that baptism for the rest of the people who aren't yet in Zoar. And it's a wonderful thing, because the 4EC baptism, the baptism of the fourth true church, the fourth Elijah covenant baptism, the water baptism of the fourth true Christian church, is a promise. It's an entrance into a test, which is to obey the law of the church, and a promise that if you do that and then you die and you will be resurrected with an Isaiah body. But that was the case when the world was in force, when Satan had power. But when Satan was officially running things. Now he's no longer officially running things, although he's permitted to run them for a while longer. And so there's no reason to withhold the promise, the fruits of that promise from people anymore. In other words, when you don't get a promise to have an Isaiah body with the water baptism from 2012 Tammuz 3 onwards. You get the Isaiah body, which means you age at half rate and you're non-Adamic. As I said, something which my mum doesn't quite believe. But Christianity is full of things which are outside of one's normal experience. The resurrection of the dead, and everlasting life, and loving your enemies. So we now have moved the Zoar Pentecost 3 days forward, because the 1335 days of Daniel 12:12 is moved 3 days forward, because we count it not from when Satan's lease expired 2008 Tishri 14, but when Jesus took over after the expiration of that lease 2008 Tishri 17. Now there's a slight technicality in that this year, 2015, the Zoar Pentecost actually ran from a first fruits day of Tammuz 2, because Tammuz 1 was the Sabbath. So it went to Ab 21, and anyway, that's now Elul 21 this year. And there's huge advantages to that chronologically, if it's correct. And we've run out of Elul 21 in this country, but it says in Acts 2, when the day of the Pentecost was being fully filled up, completely filled up. In other words, the last minute of it. So in the US it's still going, the Pentecost. The beauty of Elul 21 is 450 days after it is Chislev 21, the late 2NC Pentecost, the last day of seizing of the 450 prophets of Baal, the last day of Zoar, the first day of the Kingdom of God proper, and it should begin on the 2NC Pentecost or the late 2NC Pentecost, because Pentecost is when things begin. When the first Christian church began really to get going, when the administration of it got going on 33 Sivan 5, which was the Pentecost. And so that's it. We moved Zoar Pentecost forward 3 days. Thank you.